Duke Eclipse presents the Horror Hideout Podcast, a podcast covering everything horror, including books, comics, and movies. Presented by Dawson Duke and Kayla Bullock.
Well, this is episode 30, and today we're kind of doing two books, because we're doing Johnny the Homicidal Maniac and Squee.
You have a hard time with that.
I do.
But they're actually graphic novels, not...
Yes. And they're
novels.
Both, originally they were comic series, but
right.
They are in collected edition graphic novels. And they're written by Jonah Vasquez, who, if you watched our episode last week, is the same guy who did Invader Zim.
Yes. And I'm going to say this again. Somebody needs to check on this dude, because I'm not sure he's okay. And I want to throw this out there, too. Please check the trigger warnings before we get into anything on this one, because there's a lot. Obviously, Homicidal Maniac tells you some, but there's a lot in this. And I want to throw this out there, too, and I know I told you this before we started recording, but I could not finish Johnny. And it wasn't that it was bad.
You had a hard time with the black and white.
The page is black and the writing is white in a lot of it. And his writing, I think it's just his handwriting.
It is,
I really do. I have a hard time with it, and I'm also old, so I couldn't get through all of it. I liked it. I laughed out loud a couple different times.
It is very dark, but it also has a lot of dark humor in it.
So, I can talk about part of it. We can talk about part of it together, but then I'm going to let you run with the rest of it, because I just could not. I tried 2 different times, and I could not do that right.
And I'm not going to lie, I did not reread it for this episode, so if I get some things wrong, that would be why, but I think I know most of it well enough, because I've read it more than once. And...
So, it's kind of a hard one to do a spoiler-free review on.
Well, what we can say is, it follows Johnny the Homicidal Maniac. And that's it. The title is about all we can say.
Yeah. And then the second book that we're going to do is Squee, which is the same universe
It's a spin-off. It's about one of the characters from Johnny.
And we actually meet him in the first story of Johnny.
And I feel sick that we might touch on but won't really talk about, because I've only read it once and it was a long time ago. And it's really hard to find, because as far as I can see, they never made a collected edition. You can only buy the individual issues. It's also about a character from Johnny the Homicidal Maniac.
Okay. So let's jump in.
Okay. Do you want to start off on Johnny?
So, first of all, Squee, this little boy that's in Johnny and is the second one we're going to talk about, has the worst parents in anything I've ever read in my life.
Yes.
And so the first comic, I believe it's the first one, right? We meet Squee in the first one.
We actually meet him before we meet Johnny.
Yeah. So he's this little boy. And
his real name is Todd.
He has a stuffed bear named Shmee.
Yes.
But he goes downstairs and he tells his dad, like, "Daddy, I'm scared. There's a noise." And his dad's like, "You ruined my life when you were born." Like, they're just mean to this kid.
Yeah.
And the mom's kind of the same way.
Isn't she like a drunk?
Yeah. Like, at one point later on, this might be in Squee, but at one point later on, his friend comes over and she's like, "I don't even know if he lives here anymore." Oh, it is Squee, because that's after he gets abducted.
Yes. No, she thinks, he comes in and she thinks it's her, like, Squee's friend. And she's like, "I don't even think Squee lives here anymore. Or I don't even think Todd lives here anymore." And he's like, "I am Todd."
Oh, yeah, that's right. But in the first comic for Johnny, he ends up going back to bed because his parents are just buttheads.
Yeah.
And when he gets back up there, his window's cracked. Busted.
Broken. Yeah.
And Johnny's in his bedroom.
Looking for Bactine? He has a bathroom off of his bedroom.
Yes.
And Johnny's in there looking for Bactine because he cut himself.
Yeah.
Which, I don't think it really... He is cussing a lot and stuff, but he kind of calms down once he sees, like, Squee.
Yeah. And one thing about these comic books is, I don't want to say the drawings are beautiful because they're so dark and everything, but he's a very talented artist.
And he has a very distinctive style.
Yes.
It's very geometric.
Yeah.
But the reason that they call him Squee is because whenever he first meets Johnny, he's scared, and all he can say whenever Johnny asks his name is he lets out a little squeak.
Yeah.
Like a little noise.
Yeah.
And Johnny introduces himself and says, "My name is Johnny, but you can call me Nee for short."
Which is N-E-Y.
In NY.
That's what I meant. In NY.
And I think it's funny because he's covered in blood, and he tells Squee, he says, some of this blood is mine.
Yeah.
Because he says, where's the back team? Some of this blood is mine.
Yeah.
And at first, he kind of acts calm, almost, and he kind of, like... Squee was on edge, but he kind of comes down from it and, like, calms down a little bit. And then Johnny just, like, freaks out and starts stabbing the bear.
Yeah.
Because he asks, like, the bear's name and stuff, but then he's, like, acting like the bear's talking bad about him and stuff and, like, stabs the crap out of it.
Yeah. So then at the end of the comic book, Squee is standing there with a glob of stuffing.
Well, he hands him the bear back, right?
Yeah, but he's standing there, at the end he's standing there with this just like it's just stuffing, and he's talking to it like it's Shmi.
Yeah, but, then Johnny, he leaves and he says, I recommend you don't lock your window anymore, neighbor.
Yeah.
Because he had to bust it open.
Yeah. And so this poor little boy, I mean, he's probably, what, 6?
Yeah,
if that?
pretty young.
So yeah, that was
I
the
don't know,
first
he might
one.
be older. He might be like 10 or so, because he's, I don't know. I don't remember what grade he's in.
But I felt bad for him because his
Yeah.
parents suck.
I think 6, though, would
So
be
I wonder
too
if that
young.
means between him and like Dib and Gaz's dad in ZIM, if maybe there's family issues.
I don't know.
Absent parents.
Probably. So that's like kind of the end of like the first part, but it's not actually the end of that first issue, because that was just like, it's kind of, the issues are kind of almost broken up into chapters that kind of have their own little stories to them, because I think Johnny didn't have that many issues. I'm looking real quick. Do you want to talk about what happens next while I'm looking?
Well, one thing I want to say while you're looking that up is some of the pages in these comics are so funny because he'll draw something and then he'll be like, this has nothing to do with the story, but I want to draw it anyway.
Yeah.
Or there's one, I think it's in Squee, but there's one where he draws this something and there's an arrow pointing to it, and he said that's the best I could draw, a dog or whatever he was trying to draw, and it's just funny. Like, there's funny little things throughout for something so serious.
Well, also, I was looking in here to try to see if, like, in the, like, publishing stuff, if I could see how many issues it says it originally was, because I think it was, like, 4 or 6. Like, I don't think it was that many issues. But, it says, like, JTHM, the director's cut, published by the kindly aliens at slave labor, who, if you anger them, will dissolve your face clean off. Like, this is the copyright information in the book.
Jeez.
And then it has, like, the actual, like, P.O. box and all that stuff. JTHM and all his zany, fun-loving little friends are copyright and trademark of the vitamin deficient Jonan Vasquez. I was in New Mexico a while back and was told by someone there, the problem with this place is all the Mexicans. Funny planet, eh? No part of this super amazing publication may be reproduced without the written permission of Jonan the Wiry Wonder Boy and the surly consent elf at Slave Labor Graphics. This book is printed in Canada. Pretty cool, huh? I bet you're thinking, hot dang. It doesn't say dang, but I'm saying dang. I gotta have me that book that came from a foreign land. No, really, I bet you're thinking that. Now, I mentioned this before, but I'm really serious. What if Count Chocula, Frankenberry, and Booberry join forces and become one? What kind of abomination of supernature would result from such a grouping? Do you even think of this at all? How do you sleep with the prospect of this happening? I'm feeling dizzy. I think I will go to lie down now. And that's the copyright information in the book. It was 7 issues. So it's broken up into a bunch of chapters, but there's only 7 issues total. So do you want to talk about, like, the next...
Which one's next?
The guy going door to door asking questions.
Oh my gosh, this is probably one of the funniest and my favorite ones. So obviously there's a serial killer in this town. And so this guy is going door to door and he's asking people questions about the serial killer and if they feel safe and what they think they should do and blah, blah, blah. Well, he ends up at Johnny's house. And Johnny kind of freaks out on him at first, but then he invites him in. Well, then I can't remember what question he asks him. And Johnny just goes completely off the rails.
He has, like, really serious, well-thought-out answers. And the guy asking questions is like, these are some fantastic answers. I'm sorry I was so nervous before, but don't worry now. I'll be glad to go on with the questions. I've got one, but it's pretty weird. You might remember the girl found behind the mall. Very strange. She was drained of all her blood. Police think that maybe the killer has some sort of vampirism thing, like he drinks his victim's blood. What do you think? And he freaks out and screams, I never drink her blood, never, but I needed it. You see, it changes color when it dries. It never stays. I have to keep the wall wet. And he gestures at, like, a wall that's covered in... I mean, the comic's in black and white, but it's blood.
Right.
And then he throws the guy out the window.
Yeah. And
Squee's going by on his trike.
Yeah. So, I mean, this poor kid is just traumatized every day.
Whenever he put a little note pointing at Squee that says, you just know this kid's gonna have problems.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. And one thing that you'll see as we go throughout the book is Johnny does all this stuff. Like, he threw that guy out his window in his front yard. Or, this is, like, kind of a spoiler for later, but I don't know how much we're gonna kind of go through it sequentially, because I feel like we're probably gonna get off track and kind of jump around. But there's a later part where he goes to, like, I think it's a Taco Hell, which is like a parody of Taco Bell, and kills everyone in it, including the cockroaches. And he does this, like, fully in public, like, and does all this, and he never gets caught. No matter what, he never gets caught. And that comes back into play.
So, is that Happy Noodle Boy? So throughout this, there's these little comics that is Happy Noodle Boy, and they're just this generic-looking stick man.
So, I'm going to explain something real quick, and I don't know if you caught this, but there's a lot of implications and suggestions throughout the book that before Johnny became a serial killer and kind of went crazy, he was a painter, and he did that for a living. He was an artist. But now that he, like, all this stuff has happened to him, or, like, whatever's going on with him, the only art he can make are these Noodle Boy comics, which is just, like, this stick figure that's, like, completely insane and just rambles.
Yeah.
Which is, it's funny because if you look at him versus Johnny, they're almost the same character.
Yeah.
Where Johnny does ramble about stuff, where his rambles make more sense than the stuff Noodle Boy says, but in all reality, it's basically just him standing on a soapbox preaching to no one.
Yeah. Well, and, like, there's one in there where he's at a cemetery.
Yeah.
And he's like, they're burying somebody, and he's like, well, he's not dead, and he's telling them all this stuff, and then
they all get excited because
yeah,
they think
his widow gets the body out, and then she's like, what do I do now? And Johnny's like, nothing, he's dead. Or not Johnny, but Noodle Boy.
Yeah.
So it's just, I mean, it's just like crazy stuff.
Do you know the origin of Noodle Boy? Like IRL? So, whenever Jonan was in college, he was dating this girl, and this girl kept bugging him all the time, like, hey, you need to write more comics, hey, you should write some comics for me, hey, you should write some comics. So he drew this stupid little stick figure saying the most, like, insane, like, gross, like, vulgar stuff he could imagine. And that was Happy Noodle Boy. And so he wrote a bunch of Happy Noodle Boys to get his, like, girl to stop asking him to write comics, because he thought if he wrote this, she would stop asking him to write comics. And so then whenever he wrote Johnny, Jonan incorporated that into the story.
I like it. I like Noodle Boy.
Mm-hmm. So, do we want to keep talking about, like, the story in order, or do you just kind of want to talk about, like, Nail Bunny and the Doughboys and all that?
Whatever.
Okay. I think we should just do that. Because I don't know how well just
Johnny
going
has
over
this whole, like, torture chamber down in his basement where this wall is at that he
and
has to keep the blood.
You can't really... Well, I think the wall of blood is upstairs.
I thought it was downstairs. But I could be wrong.
It might move around.
Oh, well, maybe.
Because I think it's upstairs because he throws that guy out the window.
But I thought when he had the two guys chained to the wall, he's torturing the one, and he tells his friend, I have to keep that wall wet, and I thought it was down there with
I don't think he points at the wall at that part.
Oh, okay.
I think he just says, at that part, I think he just says he has to keep the wall wet. So Nail Bunny, it's a bunny that he got and then never fed and then nailed to a wall. And he imagines
he's obviously dead, but it's like his Nail Bunny's kind of like his
conscience,
like his good conscience.
Yeah.
Like you kind of picture the devil and the angel on people's shoulders, like in cartoons. He's kind of the angel.
And so Johnny also has these two doughboys, like Pillsbury Doughboys, and they're actually based off of something Jonan actually did. Jonan actually did get two styrofoam cardboard cutouts of doughboys that were just like the front of Doughboy and the back was flat, like how it is in the book, and painted them. And so that's what they're based off of. And so it's really cool because like it's like a bunch of stuff he did led into him making Johnny. But
so they're like the devil side.
Yeah, and I don't remember their names.
You can't say them.
I know. Do you remember what they are?
Well, one of them's F-Boy.
I knew that. But I'm trying to remember what the other one is.
I thought there was only one.
There's two, because one is encouraging him to kill people. The other one is encouraging him to kill himself.
Oh, see, I thought it was the same one.
No, there's two different ones. Because the one that says, like, that has the F word painted on it is not the one that's Mr. F.
Oh, okay. Well, and since you mentioned that, there is some suicide stuff in this book.
Yes.
And
yeah, that'll be in the trigger warnings.
Yeah, I was not a fan of those parts. I have a hard time with, like, mental health stuff like that. I don't like reading about people thinking that their life isn't worth anything. Even a homicidal maniac.
I think that one of the most, one of my favorite parts in the book is whenever he's got the guy, like, strung up that believes in God.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm talking
about? Dang it, I forgot to do my little blurb about the book I wanted to talk about.
Oh, you can do it now.
So that kind of leads into that because talking about the suicide and mental health thing. So this has nothing to do with Johnny, nothing at all. But there is a book that just came out in November called Darker Days by Thomas Oldhuvelt. Read that book if you read nothing else this year. It is the best book I have read in years. It's depressing. It's divided into 2 years. There's 2022 and 2023. When I read the end of 2022, I had to stop reading for the night and I just put my book away and then I went back to it the next day because it was so dark and heartbreaking. I highly recommend that book. I don't want to tell you anything else. That's why I don't want to do an episode on it because it's so new. But check out that book because it's amazing.
It looks like it's Psycho Doughboy. Back to this.
Yeah.
The two Pillsbury boys. It looks like they're Mr. F and Psycho Doughboy.
There you go. Okay. I thought they were the same.
No, they're different. And so, basically, the Psycho Doughboy is like his representation of like depression and like suicidal thoughts and stuff like that. And then Psycho Doughboy is the one, no, and then Mr. F is the one encouraging him to go out and kill people.
Yeah.
And so there's a symbol throughout this book, and it's on the cover of the director's cut too, that's a Z with a question mark. And Jonan has said that represents like question sleep, because he's always, like, his whole life he suffered with insomnia, and so he wrote a lot of Johnny when he couldn't sleep, like, and he was dealing with insomnia.
So it means what? Question sleep?
Yes.
I wondered that. I was going to ask you if you knew what that was about.
And that's what I like, is because I looked into a lot of this stuff, and, like, I did a video talking about the Invader Zim comics, and whenever, on my, like, regular channel, and in that, I did research on Jonan and stuff, which I already knew a lot of the stuff about Johnny, but it was cool to learn, like, other stuff about his life that I hadn't known before. Yeah. But, like, I knew the insomnia thing, the question sleep, and all that already.
Yeah.
But we actually do see Johnny can be, like, he can be a charismatic guy and stuff, because he goes on a date with this girl named Debbie, and it goes really well. And we kind of catch up with them after the date when they come back to Johnny's house. And you read that far, didn't you?
I don't know.
Okay. She is an artist too, and she also works at a bookstore. And so he kept going to the bookstore to kind of like see her, and eventually she asked him out on a date because she could tell. Yeah. One. And so she could tell that he liked her. So they like had a really good time and stuff, and then Johnny goes to murder her to immortalize the moment forever.
Right.
Oh. Let me finish talking about this. So anyway, Debbie ends up escaping, and she comes back later, and she also is the main character in I Feel Sick. But we kind of skipped over this because I got distracted, but the guy he has strung up where they have the conversation about like God and believing in a higher power.
Mm-hmm.
I think that just hits me a lot because, you know, I'm Christian and going into the ministry,
right.
And
that's why I was surprised you liked this one so well.
Well, I think it's I just think it's really cool, and I don't take this necessarily as being blasphemous or anything, because even whenever Johnny is talking to like the guy who's strung up, the guy is like, "Oh, I have Here he says, I would rather not die, but I don't seem to have much say in the matter. But I'm also not like you. I'm not clouded. I have no family, no friends really, nothing. But I do have faith. You know, God and all that. A heaven for me and a hell for you. So F fear. I have nothing to fear. And Johnny says, I envy your conviction, and then kills him.
Yeah.
But I like that because even, like, it shows the strength of Christianity. Like, even facing death, people can be strong in it and know where they're going to be. And there's a comfort and safety in that a lot of people don't have. And so even if... It seems to me like even though... what that tells me, which I know Jonan said not to, like, treat this as his diary or, like, to reflect his views or anything, but what it shows to me is that even though he may not be Christian, he respects and understands why people are.
Yeah.
And I look at the later parts that deal with heaven and hell and all that more as him having mental illness and stuff than him actually going there.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Well, go ahead and talk about that part, or what, I mean...
Just wherever.
Yeah.
So, like, well, do you want to talk about the two guys you were talking about earlier? We just got the two guys strung up?
I don't really remember the context of it, but he's got two guys chained up in the basement, and he's torturing one of them, and the other one's begging him not to. And they kind of have this whole conversation, and then he just kills the one that he was torturing.
And that's one interesting thing about it, is that Johnny does have, like, good points and is well-spoken and has good conversations, but he's also hypocritical in a lot of the stuff he says.
Yeah.
And that's intentional. And Jonan has come out and said he did not write this as something for people to look up to. He doesn't want people to try to be like Johnny. He wrote it to make a hypocritical, mentally ill character. And so he doesn't like whenever people try to imitate him and stuff, which is him, there's a part later in the book where a fan of Johnny's come who, like, killed and raped a girl and, like, copied his style
by, like,
draining her blood.
That's the girl that the whatchamacallit was asking about, we talked about.
I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
Because that girl was just drained of blood.
Oh,
she wasn't raped. I think they bring it up later.
Okay.
But, that was him making fun of the fans. Because there were fans of the book that were, like, trying to imitate Johnny, and that was Jonan's way of saying, you're not supposed to imitate him. He's not someone to look up to.
Right.
But it also showed that he does have, like, a line.
Yeah. He's got a moral compass, it's just not right.
Yeah, but that line is kind of like, why is that where he draws the line?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Well, and he talks about that, like, physical gratification means nothing to him.
Yeah. And there's a lot of, like, very interesting parts in it. I do like this part. There's a part where he shoots a guy, and there's a couple times where it's like this, but at this part he shoots a guy at a gas station, and there's a note on the panel where the head's exploding that says, to achieve this shot, we first made a plastic mold of the actor's head. We then filled it with cow parts. Then for realism, we surprised the actor by blowing a hole through his head. Jeez. And stuff like that's just funny to me. Like, it's like tongue-in-cheek and dark humor and stuff. Should we talk about Squee more before we get into the heaven and hell stuff?
Is he in there some more?
Mm-hmm. Like the mall.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Do you want to talk about that part?
No,
or no?
Go ahead.
Okay.
I don't remember that part.
So, there's a part where Squee's at the mall, and he's supposed to be with his mom, and he gets lost from his mom, and this guy comes up to him and it's like, oh, hey, I'll help you find your mom. She told me to come find you.
I didn't read that one.
And he takes Squee into an alley, and it's implied he's going to try to rape him. And then he gets saved by Johnny. But Johnny, like, comes in and cuts off his hand first, and then cuts his head open and, like, shows Todd his brain, like, shows Squee his brain, and is, like, talking about, like, all the things that are bad with the world, and to watch out for bad people and all this stuff. And, like, teaching him a lesson, like, trying to teach Squee a lesson, but traumatizing him in the process.
Right. That poor kid.
Yeah. But it gets to a point, it's, like I said, there's, like, the Taco Bell, he kills someone in a gas station and all this stuff. And so Nail Bunny is kind of like his consciousness, and then there's the two doughboys. But eventually gets to the point that Johnny is ready to kill himself. And so what he does is, he sets it up to where if his phone rings and he answers it, the gun will go off and shoot him in the head.
There are a couple other parts in the book where he contemplates suicide, like seriously contemplates suicide.
Like I said, one of the doughboys is entirely just encouraging him to kill himself.
But I wanted to point that out, that it's very...
And it might be the guy who believes in God, but basically when he's having that conversation, he says that he basically wants to kill, like, in suffering for everyone, and so the guy says, why not just kill yourself and be done with it? And he says, because the wall needs to be painted or something like that. But it's him being kind of hypocritical.
Right.
But where was I at? So he sets that up. Well, Devi has not left her house since that day, basically, because she's terrified to leave her house because there's people like that out there. And so she eventually gets the courage to call. I don't remember why she calls Johnny. I don't know if it's like to face her fear or why she's calling him, but she eventually gets the courage to try and call him. So she calls him, and the phone rings, and he goes to answer it, and all she hears on the other end is a gunshot, because the gun goes off and shoots him in the head. And he ends up going to heaven first, and heaven is kind of like super run down and stuff on the outside, and then when he goes in through the gate to get inside, everyone is just sitting in chairs. Because they have ultimate power, they can do anything they can imagine, like anything they imagine they can make real. But because they're in heaven, they have no desire or want or need for anything, so they just sit in chairs. And I don't agree with that interpretation of heaven, but I think that's a really interesting interpretation of heaven, because it makes sense, in a way. Because the Bible does say that in heaven you will desire and want for nothing.
Right.
And you won't necessarily have needs, so it makes sense that you would...
You talking about it reminds me of WALL-E.
Yeah. It's not quite that, though. It also reminds me of, and you will not know what this is, but it kind of reminds me of Mother Horse Eyes, which I only know about because of the Creepcast episode, I'm not going to lie. So if you want to hear about Mother Horse Eyes, go watch the, 9-hour Creepcast episode about it. It's
Mother
long.
Horse Eyes?
Yes. But basically... I'm going to talk about Mother Horse Eyes for a minute. In that story, in the future, everyone is just, in these, VR pods, and they're, basically they have, stimulation at all times, multiple forms of stimulation. And so, people will go in it and just be in it for years, and then something will break, the sewage drainage or something on their machine will break, and they're in their pods so they don't know, so they'll just be, sitting in their own sewage forever and stuff like that happens. So they have these people that come to, take people out of the machines if they stop paying their bills and stuff.
Is this a movie or a book or what?
No, it's very weird. It was responses in Reddit posts that people had to piece together to get the full story.
Okay.
And on random Reddit posts that had nothing to do with the actual story. But like I said, if you want a full encapsulation of it, go watch the Creepcast, because that's probably the best way to look at it, or listen to the Creepcast podcast episode. But and we're not sponsored by them in any way. I just like them. I'm wearing a Creepcast shirt right now under my ZIM or my Gur hoodie. But they in that they're they have so much stimulation at all times, and there is in that it talks about how there's this one person that's a therapist for the people that come out of it, and they almost can't deal with not having that stimulation. So they'll be sitting there, and this is gross, but they'll be sitting there in the middle of a session, and they'll just, start masturbating. Because they're so used to just having multiple stimulation all at once and being able to, do whatever they want at any time and have multiple things going on, that it's just, that's normal for them.
Right.
And so it's, teaching them how to get back into society, not doing stuff like that. But it almost reminds me, it brought that to mind, of just, them being in their own minds and just,
Interesting.
But basically what ends up happening is... which, this is really nothing like that because they're just sitting in chairs, but that's just, you bringing up WALL-E made me think of that. But, Johnny realizes because he's here too, he also has the same powers they do, so he just starts blowing people's heads up, which turns into a big fight, so he gets kicked out of heaven.
Mind power using
Yes,
yeah,
psychically blowing people's heads up. So he gets kicked out of heaven, so he gets sent down to hell, and when he's in hell, he gets in a conversation with the devil. But basically, he learns that hell is just Earth. And that's basically it. It's just Earth, except there's no good people. And so, what happened, the devil says, I don't even have to torture anyone, they torture themselves. Because what they'll do is, they'll build a city, and everyone's an a-hole down here. And so they keep just making new parts of the city whenever they get sick of the old parts, and they'll move to the new city, and then the same things happen again, so they move to a new city, and the same things, and they just keep doing that over and over. And people also can't die. There's that too. Like, people there can't die, but it's just like a miserable existence where you're surrounded by all these terrible people. But Johnny gets in a conversation with the devil, and I think it's funny because the devil makes himself appear as a cheerleader.
Oh
because
my gosh.
he like tries to play off people's like fears or like things that make people uncomfortable, so he makes himself look like a cheerleader because Johnny doesn't like cheerleaders. But whenever he's talking to the devil, who I'm trying to remember what he goes by, it might be Senor Satan. But let me see here. You will address me by my proper distinguished title, Senor Diablo, is what he goes by. So basically what the devil reveals is that Johnny is a flusher. And what that is basically the reason he couldn't be caught by the cops and all that is he was holding back like an eldritch horror from another world behind that wall he was painting with blood, and his death caused a reset of the whole universe, and basically it created its own pocket universe that monster was then trapped in. So we actually see like people in his house that try to escape, and they start to get out, and they make it out the door, and then it's just like whiteness outside, like it's just complete blank, because it's just like this pocket universe that was entirely centered around Johnny's house. And then it started it kept fading in more and more until eventually it was just Johnny on like a plank of wood floating through space, or like empty space basically.
It reminds me of that SpongeBob episode with Squidward.
Alone. Yeah. So anyway, Johnny ends up waking up back in his house, and he just assumes he didn't actually die, and that he just got he just was like in a stupor last night, and he also shaved his head. He wakes up and he basically has antennae, but they almost look like Zim's antennae, except they face forward instead of backwards, like Zim from Invader Zim that we talked about last week. Another cool thing that Jonan does that doesn't really have anything to do with what's going on, but I want to mention it. He'll write stuff in the margins, like around panels and stuff, and I think that's really cool. But basically, him running into the person who he ends right after this is when the person comes who is like a parody of like his fans and stuff, and is like, I killed and raped that girl, and he ends up killing that guy. And then Devi calls him and is like, hey, like, I need to confront you, and he just listens on voicemail, and she's like screaming at him that he needs to stop being a coward and pick the phone up. And there's also like, at one part there's a whole thing where he keeps killing cockroaches, but they keep coming back. Like, he thinks it's the same one, but it's obviously not. Like, it's just like his house is infested with cockroaches, but every time he kills one, he's like, it's the same one coming back to life.
Ew.
So was there anything more you wanted to say real quick?
Not really about Johnny. Like I said, I didn't finish it because I couldn't do the writing.
Was there anything really, like, that stood out to you from it?
I wasn't expecting the humor that was in there. Like, I didn't expect to find myself laughing out loud when I was reading it, given the title of it.
I know, I do think it's funny.
And like we said, the little, if you, so I'm the kind of person that I need to read it more than once, like when it's a graphic novel or a comic book, because I like to read it and then I want to look at the pictures.
Yeah.
And so if you do that, make sure you look at the pictures, because there's so much just little hidden details in there.
Like, there's, at one point when he's in the gas station, you see, like, the Antichrist in the background and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Who's a character in Squee.
Yeah.
But, the way that Johnny ends is basically with Johnny, he goes over to Squee's room and he's like, hey, Squee, I won't be around as much anymore, so you're gonna have to, I won't really be here to teach you lessons like I did. And that's kind of how it ends.
Which is so crazy that he was a killer and then he hooked onto this little boy for some reason.
I think he sees a lot of himself in him. I think that's why.
That would make sense.
So, do you want to talk about Squee? Because I talked a lot about Johnny, so I'll let you take.
So Squee, obviously, we just talked about him and Johnny. So the Squee series is all about Squee, and again, there's not a whole lot of comics.
Oh, and I do want to say this real quick before we like officially move away from Johnny. There are little like there's like little comics that Jonan included throughout Johnny that were called Meanwhiles that were just like kind of random snippets of random things, and those are actually collected in the Squee paperback collection. I think that's because there was only like 4 Squee comics, so there was more room in it. So the director's cut, which is what we read Johnny out of, does not have those Meanwhiles in it, but they're actually originally from the Johnny comics. But they're collected in Squee.
Yeah. So
which
about
is like
half of the Squee book is not Squee stories.
Yeah. Which like one of the Meanwhiles is this person who's goth and like wants to be a vampire, and so finds like a real vampire online and gets turned into a vampire, but like it's not what they thought it was going to be, and they end up with like a gigantic head and like gigantic tusks basically for teeth. There's one where it's like 2 Eldritch entities possess like 2 kids to fight each other and just are like blowing each other's limbs off and stuff. There's one where a kid like there's this like person that's talking about not doing drugs, which I think this one might be in Johnny, because there's some little comics that stayed in Johnny, but where it's like a public service announcement not to do drugs, where it's like this guy that looks like a kid who's like, I'm not actually a kid, it's just because I did drugs that stunted my growth, and I think he like sneezes and his eye pops out or something. I feel like there's one where someone eats their baby because they're like starving on the street. They're just like weird little snippets. One of them though is actually about Debbie, the girl that Jonan dated, and it's about a date she went on that I think she mentions in Johnny at one point, where this guy had diarrhea on their date, like in his pants.
So, you read the whatchamacallit from the other one. This one says, Squee's Wonderful Big Giant Book of Unspeakable Horrors, August 1998, published by the amorphous cloud of sentience that is slave labor graphics, who, when you poke their collective belly, giggle and then obliterate you with death beams. Their secret base of operations is blah blah blah. No part of this publication may be reproduced without the written consent of Jonan Jiggy Vasquez and that scary cloudy slave labor thing, unless you wish to incur the wrath of Slunchy. As is the way, this book is printed in Canada, where, from what I've been able to gather, food comes from. Rashes are never funny. So Squee, of course, is the little boy, and again, we've got the first story in here. He's praying. Squee is praying, like, give my daddy what he wants.
Yeah.
And his dad is sitting on the bed, and he's like, God, I wish that kid had never been born. Like, I just don't want him. So Squee gets kidnapped by aliens.
And the aliens, there's 2 sets of aliens that kind of are fighting over him, and 2 of them look like early versions of the Tallest, and the other 2 are aliens that are in an episode of ZIM that I'm blanking on the name of.
So the Tallest you're talking about
are from Invader ZIM.
ZIM, yeah.
Yes.
ZIM is
the Urkin leaders.
Yeah, part of the Urkins. But so Squee tries to convince them to take his mom and dad instead of taking him, and the 2 alien groups are like fighting over who's gonna take Squee.
Which, back on the Invader ZIM thing, do you remember the episode that those 2 aliens are in? It's really funny because they're dressed up, and I think their names are like Bill and Mary, but like the genders are reversed. Like Bill's on the wrong one and Mary's on the, like, you know, quote unquote wrong one. And they're just like completely incompetent, like more incompetent than ZIM. And they keep like their whole technology is that they fuse stuff, but they're actually just duct taping stuff together. Anyway.
So they end up tricking the Tallest, and they give the Tallest a stuffed animal.
Yeah.
And not Squee. So this is where you're talking about where Squee comes home, and his mom's like, Squee, one of your friends is here, and he's like, I'm Squee.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, I thought I didn't even know you lived here. And then he's like, can I go to school? And she's like, I thought you already graduated.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just terrible parenting.
And I think he's supposed to be like 10-ish, because I think he's supposed to be like the age that Zim and Dib are.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. So, like, we were talking about the funny stuff. Like, this one has a bird in the tree, and the bird says, I feed my baby's blood. Like, just random. Like, nothing to do with the story. So, he's walking to school. Squee's walking to school, and he sees Andy, who he wants to be friends with, but then Andy gets attacked by a dog.
Yep.
And gets dragged into his doghouse.
Is Wobbly-Headed Bob, is it in there, or is it in Johnny?
It's in here.
Okay.
It's at the end.
Okay.
So then we're at show and tell, and somebody's got a dead squirrel that's been run over.
Yeah.
And his teacher is the same teacher as ZIM's, Mrs. Bitters.
Yes. Ms. Bitters.
Ms. Bitters.
Is it? Yeah.
So after show and tell, the teacher introduces the new kid in class, and this is actually the Antichrist, the son of Satan.
Yes.
Which you talked about in Johnny because he's in the gas station.
The Antichrist kid?
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's the same devil that in this book that we meet later on that talked to Johnny when he was in hell.
Yes.
So he's basically telling the kids like all this stuff like his dad's famous, his pictures on cans of tuna and vacuum cleaners and all this stuff, and then he ends up blasting one of the kids in the class because he talks back to him. And so there's a note, this cracks me up, there's a note on this page that says where the kid's lost his head, and it says, before you write angry letters, you should know this kid was not very popular. So then there's just kind of chaos. And he kills a bunch of kids, and then he's like, I'll see you on Monday, Squee. He wants to be friends with Squee, so...
Yeah. So Squee gets invited over to his house for dinner at some point, and that's when we meet the devil.
Well, this is what... The next part is where he's in the car, and he's telling his parents he has to go to the bathroom, and they're like, you went to the bathroom 2 days ago.
Yeah. Yeah, his parents are just terrible.
And so he goes to the bathroom, and there's somebody going to the bathroom in there, and it's just disgusting. Like, blood all over, and it's just gross.
So, the next part, he's, like, laying up on the roof looking up at the stars, and a future version of him appears, but he's wearing, like, almost like a mascot costume of how Squee looks now. And he reveals that he can't remember why he came back, because they lose 80% of their memory when they time travel.
But he came back to tell him something.
Yeah. Something horrible was going to happen, so he came back to warn him about it. He's wearing that suit, like that mascot costume, and can't show Squee what he looks like because that's against the time travel rules. And then he starts screaming that his spine is liquefying because they haven't worked out that kink in the time travel yet.
Even though they told him they did.
Yes. And then the guy just, like, disappears. And then his parents tell him to get off the roof, and then he has to crawl down the chimney because the door's already locked.
Climb down that. I'm like, you are horrible parents. Like,
so,
jeez.
The next part is whenever Squee is dreaming. And do you want to talk about that, or do you want me to talk about it?
Go ahead. I talked a lot about the other first two.
He's dreaming about, like, flying and stuff, and I don't think we've mentioned it yet, but Shmee's kind of evil.
Yeah. He
keeps trying to get Squee to do, like, Shmee the teddy bear keeps trying to get Squee to do bad things.
Yeah.
Like, kill people and stuff. And Squee's just like, oh, don't know.
Do you really think that's Shmee, or do you think it's, like, his conscience like we saw with Johnny?
I think it could be either. I think Squee could also be, like, a flusher, or it's just mental health.
I wouldn't have thought of him as a flusher.
I think that's what they called him. Because I think the devil says something about, like...
I'm not arguing with you about it. I just never thought about...
No, I don't think you're arguing. I keep saying flusher. I think that's what they refer to them as in the book. Because I didn't check. Anyway, if not, that's what I was referring to them as. But basically, what Shmee tells Squee here is that he's a trauma sponge. So anything bad that happens to Squee, Shmee takes on.
Right.
And,
yeah, no, I remember.
Yes. And so I do wonder if it's not just that. Like, I do wonder if Squee is a flusher. Like, or being prepared to be a flusher in the future, like Johnny. And maybe Johnny, because Johnny, died and came back and served his purpose and stopped giving Squee lessons after that. Maybe that was him passing on the torch of being a flusher to Squee.
Maybe.
But anyway, all that happens in his test, and Shmi is basically like, "You stop breathing. You should probably wake up now." So
this poor kid just has the worst life. Like, even his teddy bear wants him to do crazy stuff.
And it's funny because, I'm a really big fan of Calvin and Hobbes, and it's almost like dark Calvin and Hobbes sometimes.
Yeah.
But
you
anyway,
said something earlier in the Johnny part, or maybe it was ZIM, that made me think of Calvin and Hobbes. Oh, something that wasn't explained, and I thought about what you said in that one episode.
The needle incident.
Yeah.
Well, also there's, speaking of Vader Zim and Calvin and Hobbes, and there's the whole Spaceman Spiff thing where Calvin pretends to be an astronaut named Spaceman Spiff.
Oh yeah.
So there's that too. So the next part is whenever Squee's visited by his grandpa, and do you want to talk about that?
His grandpa's disgusting. So his dad comes up. I think it's his dad comes up and tells him that his grandpa's coming.
Yes.
And basically that he needs to leave him alone and be nice to him. And then his parents are like, "Bye, we're leaving you," and they leave him with his grandpa, who is old and gross and psycho and
tries to eat him because he says if he eats him, it'll help him keep his stay alive longer.
He keeps telling Squee that's why you want to know why I look so good. It's because I eat little boys, and
then he trips and breaks half his face off.
Yeah.
And he looks like a zombie at that point.
It's just, I don't know, this poor kid's family. Like, I want to adopt him.
But that part ends with the grandpa falling asleep, and then it shows an old couple in a house next door. "Margie, that strange little neighbor boy is sleeping on the roof with a crowbar again."
I knew that part was in there, but I couldn't remember where it was at.
Yeah. And then we kind of just get another nightmare and stuff, which I will say, and I'll throw this up whenever I'm doing the thing, but this monster looks like something out of My Singing Monster.
It reminds me of something, and I can't for the life of me remember what it reminds me of. I think it's something in Stitch, Lilo and Stitch.
I don't know,
but
one of the other experiments.
No, it's not one of the experiments, but one of the aliens. It's a cartoon. It's either that one, Monsters Inc., or Monsters vs. Aliens.
I would say it's probably Monsters Inc., but I don't know who exactly.
I don't either.
But
anyway, so which one's next? I know what happens. I just don't have it in the right order.
The one with the dust mites.
Oh, I hated that one. That made me squirm.
Yeah.
It was gross.
So Squee sees something on TV about dust mites, and so he gets freaked out about it.
He's one of those people that he's afraid of everything.
Yeah.
He's scared of his own shadow.
Well, and he kind of reminds me of someone I know, which this is slightly different than what he does. But someone I know, if they hear about a disease, they'll start feeling like they have it. They'll convince themselves they'll have it, and they'll start actually experiencing symptoms because they convince themselves they have it. He reminds me of that, where it's and again, it reminds me of Calvin and Hobbes, where he just has a big imagination.
Yeah.
But anyway.
But like you said, he sees something about dust mites and it freaks him out, so he decides to clean everything.
Yeah.
He's beating his pillows and he's cleaning his blankets and all this stuff.
And whenever he dumps out his pillowcase, it turns out what he's been sleeping on this whole time isn't a pillow, but a giant dust mite.
Yeah, and it's gross.
That starts talking to him.
It reminds me of that one show you guys used to watch, and there was an episode with the lice.
Arthur?
No, it was, I don't remember what it was, but it was the lice were so gross.
SpongeBob?
No.
With the fleas?
No, it was lice. I don't remember what show it was.
The only other one I can think of that has lice in it is Invader Zim.
No. I don't remember, but I hated that episode.
I don't know. Because the only thing I can think of is A Flea in Her Dome, which is the SpongeBob episode, or the Arthur one with lice.
No, this one was disgusting.
Are you sure it was lice?
I thought so. Kids Next Door.
I don't remember ever watching that.
One of you guys did.
Maybe it was my older sister.
Maybe. I don't know, but it was gross.
Well, we can say her name. She's been on the podcast. Maybe it was Rayleigh.
It might have been. I don't know, but it was disgusting. Anyway, that's what it made me think of.
But yeah, anyway, Squee ends up, like, turning up the AC and stuff to basically freeze the dust mite out, because he,
They said that cold, that they like humidity, so turning the air conditioner on got rid of the humidity in the air.
So he ends up kicking him out the window. And that's just kind of how that one ends. The next one is where he gets visited by, like, the ghost.
Oh, so yeah, this poor kid, he's got dust mites and ghosts and bad parents and a homicidal maniac.
Do you know what it does remind me of, though?
What?
I mean, obviously this is a lot darker, but Courage the Cowardly Dog.
I've never seen that.
Well, and people have a theory about that throughout the series, he's not actually facing anything that's, like, scary. It's just through his eyes everything is scary. Because even, like, they live in the middle of nowhere, and so there's, like, nothing for miles, and it's like they're literally just, like, in like a abyss, essentially. But people think that's because he's an inside dog and he doesn't ever go outside, really, and stuff like that. And so all these creatures that he deals with, like a family member comes over and is, like, a hair cutter, but he sees him as a serial killer. Or, like, he sees a cat and takes that as a threat, so he sees it as, like, this big evil monstrosity of a cat and stuff like that. And so people think it's just, like, there's a theory that not all that stuff isn't actually happening. He's just a regular dog, and we're seeing it all through his eyes.
Aww. It's kind of sad.
But that's kind of what this reminded me of. It's like dealing with, like, childhood fears and imagination. It's like a dark Calvin and Hobbes.
Yeah. So, what did you... Oh, this is the ghost one. Yeah. So, Squee is in his bedroom, and this little ghost girl appears, and he asks... She says something, and she says that she died in that room.
Yeah.
And he asks how, and I don't know, I don't remember, does she say she was at McMeady's? Is that a continuation thing?
I don't think so.
She went somewhere and got basically a Happy Meal. And she says, you know how the toys say say not to put in your mouth or whatever, that it's a choking hazard. Well, she thought that she was smart enough to get away with it, so she went in her bedroom and put it in her mouth, and she choked to death.
McDonald's is what it is
McDonald's,
in this.
there we go. So then at the very end of it, she's like, you know, you could, I don't remember how she says it, but basically, you could die too, and we could be friends, we could play.
Maybe I'll come back. I do get so lonely. It would be very nice if you died here too.
Yeah, that's it.
And how is this kid supposed to sleep after that?
Right.
What I do think it's funny. The next story takes place at school. It's the one with the puppy.
Okay, go ahead.
But I do think it's funny because the school looks very similar to the school from Invader Zim.
Yeah.
But instead of being spelled, because in Invader Zim it's Skool. In this it's Scool.
This is the dog I was talking about that he says something about the way he draws the dog.
Doing a little jig. That's a doggy sound?
I thought there was one panel where he said, yes, this is supposed to be a dog or something.
I'm looking. I don't see that.
Oh, maybe I was wrong.
I think it's a dog. Yep, I see it.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
So anyway, he's at school and, like, he has no friends to play with him out in the schoolyard. And he's kind of getting bullied. Well, he finds a dog, and so he ends up playing with a ball with the dog. And the dog chases the ball out into the street and gets run over.
Twice.
More than twice.
Well, he gets run over once, and he's still got the ball, and he's trying to crawl across there, and then he gets run over again.
And then he gets ran over by a bike, or a trike. Okay, so that's kind of the end of that story. And then the next one is the dinner with Satan. Do you want to talk about that?
I don't remember what the son goes by.
Pepito.
Okay, Pepito. So, and part of this was so goofy because he gets invited over to dinner and his dad's like, you are going. Like, his Squee's like, I don't want to. And he's like, you're going. Like, me and your mom already have plans, you're going. And so they drop him off and The mom's real nice
well,
and like a normal person.
Let me say this real quick. The dad says, your mother and I already made plans, like you said. And then in that panel where he's saying that, it says, this war moment is brought to you by Unplanned Parenthood. Like, just in the bottom right corner. Anyway.
I missed that part. But anyway, so the mom is just like a normal mom. And then when the dad comes home, well, somehow the kids end up in the basement. And he shows them...
Well, first, the dad comes home and he just looks like a normal businessman. But then as soon as the door closes, he turns into Satan.
Yeah. But the mom acts like she didn't know he was Satan.
Even though he looks like Satan, she doesn't know he's Satan.
Oh, okay.
Because, here... she says, souls, what are they talking about? I didn't cook any souls. Juan.
Yeah.
His name's Juan.
Juan.
Anyway, and then he says, oh, darling, there's something I've been meaning to tell you. See, I am Satan. And then she says, that explains the basement.
Yeah. Which the kids end up in the basement, and it's,
Yes.
full of damned souls.
Also, he wrote, dear gosh, I love drawing this guy's head about Satan. I think it's sarcastic because it has a lot of detail.
Yeah.
Either that or he does genuinely enjoy drawing the head. Okay. So yeah, they end up in the basement.
Yeah.
Did you?
Of course, freaks Squee out.
Yeah.
And then I don't remember what happens after that.
Did they end up in the basement here?
I thought he showed him the basement before his dad got home. Because then his dad tells him to take the briefcase down and throw it down there.
Yes, you're right. You are correct. The smoke was from the roasting souls of the damned. Father likes to take his work home with him. Unfortunately, we move so often and we have to take all of this with us every time. And then I'll put the picture up whenever we do the video. If you're only listening on audio, I apologize. But it is a really cool depiction of hell. So, the next is when the aliens come back. They're like the same ones that took him before.
So, not the tallest.
No, the other two. But he ends up telling them, Todd Squee ends up telling them that they can take his parents instead.
Okay, so I said that earlier, but it was this time when he said they could take the parents.
And they do.
And then when his parents come back, did you notice that the dad's naked?
Yeah. And we get some mini comics and stuff in here that aren't really that important, but
doesn't he try to tell them that you were abducted by aliens and they're like, no?
That's not yet.
Oh,
they're not back yet. We just see them get kidnapped here and then they come back later because we see him at school and he's daydreaming, and then Ms. Bitters asked him when Columbus discovered America.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that part.
And he says 1492. And then there's an arrow pointing at one of the kids in the background that says heroin addict.
Yeah, I know!
But Ms. Bitters says, actually, you're wrong. It's 1429. And because that's what the book says. And he says that's just a typo. But then basically all the kids turn into zombies. And she's... But anyway, Pepito ends up killing all the kids and protecting Squee.
Yeah.
We don't see him kill the kids. It happens off camera, but we see the school exploding.
Yeah.
And then the parents come home, so you can talk about that.
So when the parents come home, like I said, the dad's naked. And,
they both are.
Oh, I didn't realize Mom was standing there, too. But they go to talk to the son, and he's like, I think he tells them you were abducted by aliens. And they're like, no, we weren't gone that long. And this is where they end up putting him in the psych ward, right?
Yes, they take him to see a doctor first. At the Defective Head Meat Institute.
Which is ridiculous. Defective head meat.
Which I will say, there is a lot of language in this that was popular in the early 2000s that is not politically correct.
Like what?
I'm not gonna say them. The R word.
Oh.
The F slur.
Oh, yeah, that is true. I didn't think about that. I did when I read it, but
Yeah.
yeah. So his parents end up taking him to see this doctor, and then they get him admitted to a psychiatric hospital.
Yeah, the Detective Headmeat Institute.
But they're like, the director or whatever they're meeting with the thing is like, well, we'll get him fitted for a straight jacket. The dad's like, no, here, take the one we've already ordered for him. Like, this poor kid.
Yeah. Again, reminds me of Butters. There's a part in South Park where Butters has, I think it's an imaginary friend, so his parents think he's insane, so they take him to the doctor. And the doctor does like all these tests and stuff on him and basically torture him.
Aww.
Because he thinks because the doctor has like DID, like multiple personality disorder, dissociative identity disorder, and the doctor is like projecting onto him and saying he has it. And does all these like terrible experiments on Butters.
So I'm gonna let you talk about the ending with who else is in the psych ward.
Basically, Johnny's there. He's talking to like a doctor there, and then as he's leaving, he walks by the room that they're keeping Squee in.
Yeah.
In waves, and that's how it ends.
Yeah.
So then in the back, like I said, there's the meanwhile. So do you want to talk? Did you read Wobbly Headed Bob?
I did not.
So Wobbly Headed Bob. So like we said, there was the whole like Noodle Boy was kind of equivalent to Johnny. In my opinion, Wobbly Headed Bob kind of parallels Squee to an extent. Because Wobbly Headed Bob's whole thing is he's like this super intelligent person essentially that's in like a cartoon world.
Oh. Okay.
Like he's also a cartoon character, but it's not like it's like Happy Tree Friends at Cartoon World where there's like violence and people can die and stuff, but everyone acts like they're all like upbeat and happy and stuff. And so like there's one where he makes friends with a dog, which reminds me of the one where Squee makes friends with a dog, but the dog ends up falling off a cliff because they're standing too close and it like falls. And like there's one where he finally gets a girl that admits or that like likes him, and then he starts like going on this whole tirade about how like nothing is worth living for and all this, and she ends up leaving him. And it's just stuff like that but it's also, again, it's kind of self-inflicted because every time something starts going good for him, he gets so wrapped up in himself and using such smart people language, I did finger quotes, like air quotes, that he alienates people from himself. Mm-hmm. But it just kind of reminds me of Squee, the way like everything goes unfortunate for him, like nothing can go good. Which there's also some filler bunny in the back of this, which I mentioned. I think
like filler bunny.
Yeah, there's a whole filler bunny book of filler bunny comics that I have. Oh, filler bunny's existence is pain.
You have to let me read it.
I will. You can borrow it. But there's another meanwhile that has the same aliens, the ones that kidnap Squee and his mom, that are also in that one episode of Invader Zim, where they kidnap like a human person, and I think this is probably what like inspired that episode. They kidnap a female chicken and a male human and think they're the same species and force them to copulate.
Oh my gosh.
That's the right term, right?
Yeah.
Okay. It's like it doesn't show it. It happens off screen. But
wow. Okay.
Because basically they threaten to kill him if he doesn't do it, so he does it. And it have you seen the Black Mirror episode with the senator and the pig?
Yes.
It reminds me of that.
Yeah, that bothers me. I did not like that episode.
But there's some more meanwhiles in little comics, and I'm not going to spoil them all so that you have something to read. But that's pretty much it.
So check out Jonan's work.
Yes.
He's very dark, but there's a lot of humor to it.
Oh, there's one more I wanted to talk about that I forgot about. There is like a little, it's only a couple page comic that parodies like superhero comics where, you know, they have like the absurd proportions and stuff, and they both end up dying because it turns out that they're like basically full of like tumors and stuff, and that's why they're shaped like that, making fun of like superhero proportions.
Okay, yeah, I missed that too.
Or it's something like that.
But check out Jonan's work. We really like him. He's very off the wall.
And it's like we said, it's very dark, and it is horror, but it's also there's a lot of dark humor in it.
Yeah.
And it's my kind of humor. Like the reason that I read that one part off from Johnny where it talks about them. We made a fake head, and then we put cow intestines in, and then we surprised the actor by shooting him in the head. That was so funny to me the first time I read that.
Yeah, it's just unexpected.
Yeah.
But again, and I know we stressed this already, but
trigger warnings.
There is a lot of dark matter, dark subjects.
Yes.
That they talk about in these comics. So just be aware.
Yep. And
I don't even know what we're doing next week, so we can't really announce it.
Yeah, I don't know either. So, well,
you know what I want to do, but
do you want to do that next week? Let's do that next week.
Okay. So we are going to be doing, I think it's 2014's Don't Blink.
Yes.
It stars Brian Austin Green.
Which you said I have not seen it, but you said you think I'll like it because I love Vanishing on 7.
I think you will love this movie. I have a movie collection of about probably close to 900 DVDs. And a lot of them I haven't watched, and there are a lot of B horror where I'll just go in there and put one in when I want something. And I did that the other day with this one and was blown away by this movie.
And I don't know if this is set in stone yet, but we talked about doing either like a month or 2 months and just doing a summer of frickin' aliens.
So the story behind that is, I don't remember if it was a book I read, and I don't remember what book it was, but I was so mad when I got to the end of it, and I told Dustin, I said, this whole time it was frickin' aliens. So that's kind of been an inside joke for the last couple years about frickin' aliens.
Because there's been more than one book you've read where at the end it turns out it's frickin' aliens.
I read 2 this year already that was frickin' aliens. One was good, one was not. So anyway, if you have any suggestions for books or movies, and I don't want to do like mainstream alien movies, so if you have any ideas, let us know.
We are going to do one that's kind of mainstream. It's not like one that's super popular, but we're going to at least do VHS Beyond. But that's still a ways off, because that'd probably be like June, July.
Yeah.
If we do that.
So, but next week, Don't Blink. I'm pretty sure it's 2014. It might be 2019. I don't remember, but it's got Brian Austin Green in it, so you'll know it's.
Are there other movies called Don't Blink?
I don't know.
It's Don't Blink, the horror movie.
Yeah. So, check it out, and we will see you next week.
Yep.